All right, we'll begin with our journey of installing a geothermal ground source heat pump system. This was completed last year in August, the end of August of last year. Let's start by talking about sort of why we chose to go with a ground source geothermal heat pump system. Our house is, actually the HVAC system in our house was approaching 20 years old. We were starting to see some degradation and it wasn't cooling during the hot days. So we knew we had to replace the system. And so we performed an evaluation. We worked with a couple of different, actually we went out and got 3 different quotes, 2 of which were conventional HVAC systems, 1 of which was geothermal. And what we learned was that the geothermal system would be about $10,000 more expensive than the conventional HVAC system, conventional being natural gas. We did at our house, we already had installed a set of solar panels from what was Solar City and now is Tesla. They were bought by Tesla, and that was put in 2016. And we had basically oversized the system when it was installed. So we're developing credits. We didn't buy, but we have a 20-year lease where we get all the electricity off the system. And so we were developing credits, and we had built up a bank of about $2,000 of credit with Eversource. So we had that money available to use for our heat pump system. We also had plans to do landscaping in our front yard. And so we recognized that if we had to put a geothermal system in, there would be drilling and the lawn would get disrupted, but we were planning to do work there anyway so that we didn't see that as a big negative, where if you weren't planning that, it could be a negative because you'd have to pay for landscaping after the drilling was occurred. And finally, we're concerned about climate change. We've always looked to be green, and this was an opportunity to be green, going with geothermal. So, Kirsten?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that to me, the landscaping issue was really important. So in addition to hearing from MEA that you just wait the natural point of replacement for things, the natural point of re-landscaping also factored in when you're going to do geothermal. And we'll explain that a little bit more later.
So again, we're not experts, but some basics about our geothermal system. It is ground source. That means you need wells. We have 2 of them that were dug. They spec'd it out, and they're 400 feet deep. They go through bedrock. The bedrock is actually where the heat is sunk or pulled from, so it's important that they get through bedrock. They put antifreeze in the system. It's closed loop, and it moves around, basically moving heat from the ground to your house or moving heat from your house into the ground. So that's the 2 ways it works in the different modes, whether you're heating or cooling. We are in a watershed protected district, and that was not an issue with the town. No problem with permits for that because, again, it's closed, so it doesn't impact what's in the ground. You do need to have ductwork in your house. So if you have, baseboard heat, that's not going to work. In order to put a geothermal system in, you need to have the vents already in your house. You could have them put in, but that would be an extra cost. One of the advantages is the condensers that were outside of our house that would kick on and made a whirling sound when the fans were running. Those completely go away. The heat exchanger is inside your house. Your heat pump is inside your house, and it's essentially silent. But what isn't silent is the way heat pumps work is they don't heat up as much as a natural gas system, so they have to blow more air. And so you need stronger fans. So it does make a little bit louder inside the house, and it's like a white noise background of the fan when it's running, definitely louder than when we had just the conventional HVAC.
I will add that because it doesn't heat the air quite as hot as gas does, it's better if you have really dry skin and don't like a dry heat. It's a little bit better in that respect because the temperature is not as hot, maybe 10 degrees or so cooler, I think, than gas would heat.
The vendor we ended up going with is Dandelion Energy, and we chose Dandelion. I actually had seen them, or Kirsten and I had seen them on This Old House many, many years ago, 5 years ago. early in 2020. I called them then. They were not installing in the Massachusetts, but they put us on a list and said when they do, they would get in touch with us in April 2022. They did reach out. We started conversations then. We signed a contract in June 2022. Like Brian mentioned, it went slower than we expected. It took almost a year for the installation to start. And it came online in August 2023, the end of August 2023. So it was about a year and a couple months cycle to get it up and running. The staff we interacted with and the vendors were great. We were very happy with the underlying energy, but we found that internally they didn't communicate well, and we had some issues between how the system was originally spec'd and what we ended up with. And that caused some consternation, and we talked to them about that because it wasn't as efficient as we believed it should have been. And they did give us a credit of about $2,500 because of the mistakes they made between design and implementation.
I would add that if you were to do it now, then we really only knew of one vendor. When we heard from Fred of another one, but we didn't go back and get a second quote, and we would now, if we could do it over again today, we'd get 2 or 3 geothermal quotes as well as a couple of gas quotes. But
the financial, after 1 year, we've been live just over a year now, and so I was able to do a year and wanted to cover the numbers. The total cost of the system is what they totaled up was $82,200, but that was before all the discounts. There was a $5,000 that we paid for ductwork improvements, for sealing and such, that we would have done even if we did the conventional HVAC. So you have to take that out of the price. And then they did give us a $12,500 discount for being an early adopter for Dandelion in Massachusetts. We got $15,000 in federal and Massachusetts credits, including the Mass Save equipment credits and such. And then that $2,500 or $2,700 credit for the unforeseen changes. They reduced the price by that. We also got a federal tax reduction of about $2,000. That'll differ depending on your stances. So our net cost was about $45,000 versus the quotes we averaged for the natural gas systems were $35,000. So we see a delta of about $10,000. That using that delta, that with our solar panels, no electric costs, the ROI is 4.8 years. Without solar panels, it would be close to 14 years, so there's a big difference. And if you take into the fact that we had credits that we burned through $500 worth of credits, the ROI goes to 6.3 year. So depending on how you look at it, depends on how you see it. So in summary, the ground source heat pump has demonstrated with using the solar panels that it's a very, very efficient way to heat and cool our house. We're extremely happy with the system. We have used Eversource as a grid. This is important because we basically pump our electricity back that we overproduce, and then we use it for running the system. So that's important that exists, and net metering exists in Massachusetts, and that helps. Our solar panels are producing 100% of the energy for all of our heating, cooling, power. Basically, we run an electric car off that. So we've been able to run the whole house on that 11.1 megawatt system, so smaller than the one that Brian has.
Yeah, I guess our return on ROI, return on investment would be even better if we didn't have the electric car as well, or if we had a slightly bigger solar array than we do.
So overall, we're very, very happy with the installing the ground source geothermal system. And with solar panels, it really, really works well together. And we've reduced our carbon footprint to near zero. We know it's good for the planet. And I just want to make sure that you understand it also made financial sense for us too. So the whole system has been very positive. That's all we have.